Oh, it didn't do the video thing.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, that's a bummer.
Oh, wow.
Is it because I made a different studio and I turned it off? But
Oh.
does that apply to? Oh, that's annoying. Intro
know.
video. Oh well.
Oh, well. We don't get the fun intro video
Oh
this
well. I
time.
just added it again. Wah, wah.
Wah, 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 wah.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hopefully, you've seen the ad by
Yo.
now. So,
What's shaking? All of you out there in internet land.
do 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 do.
Let's see here. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. It might. So I decided to do it down here because I still haven't had the internet thing figured out upstairs, and no one's home right now. Probably near the end of the episode, just my wife will get home, so the dogs might go nuts when she gets home. But whatever.
FYI.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
FYI. I don't think it'll be too loud. It'll be what it'll be.
Oh my god.
And then let's see here. I don't think I need an overhead shot. Big headphones are big. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could put my in-ear ones.
No, I like the big headphones. It
I
shows
don't
that it shows you have a dedication to the audio quality style, and also that you're landing planes. So, are those like big, expensive, fancy, nice ones, or?
Yeah, these are pretty nice. They're a hi-fi man. I keep meaning to do some sort of something around them because I've been using them a lot lately. But they're, I have a bunch of Hi-Fi Man headphones. I like the brand.
Yeah.
Usually they're open ear planner magnetic technology ear headphones that sound really great for like production stuff.
Yeah.
But they're open ear, and so it lets the sound out and that goes to the microphone. They're not great, but they have these that are close eared and kind of have like a wood grain quality to them, and I've been using them, and yeah, they sound great, and they block out the sound and all that.
Yes, Seamus, I do feel inspired to talk about 24 hours about Android, much like the honorable senator from New Jersey. So,
yeah, is he still going?
I don't know if he's still going. He broke the record, so which is great. So he's still going.
Broke
Awesome.
the record. My
Yeah.
goodness.
24 hours, right?
Yeah,
You can't sit down when you do that, right?
No, you
gotta
can't.
stay
Yeah,
down.
you got to keep it.
yield.
Yeah, yep. So, 24 hours and 19 minutes was the record, and he broke it. So,
Wow.
which is great. It's a good thing. Which I don't. Whatever. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't understand why. Like, it's not like I was tempted to like make my kids watch it. Like, I don't understand why like everyone isn't talking about it. But Well. So Jason, you were not here last week, so you missed the new addition to Win Setup. Can you identify what it is?
Hold on. Let me. I mean, a really, really large microphone thing.
It's like out of it's like out of Spaceballs. Right?
It's a shield I got because these rooms are not treated. The walls, the ceilings are tall. I'm tired of sounding like shit on anything. I will treat this room eventually, but I figured I just thought, but look, it's purple and pink, Jason. You see this on Instagram. It's ridiculous and it's cute and it's purple and pink.
Did you find that on Instagram?
Yes, I did, and then I bought it. Like, so you can see like the shirt. Hold on, can you see the shirt? Oh,
I see.
The shirt is in
Yeah.
there, and then
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like your own miniature sound booth, but it's not that good. But it's
So what is
cute.
the pink thing? Does that have a gray? Okay, so it's got holes. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah.
It
That's
also,
like your.
So it's like a pop,
Pop filter,
Yeah.
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 I think also I tend to move around a lot when I talk, just because that's how I am in real life. But that doesn't work. So when I have this big thing in front of me, I feel like I have to glue my face to it. I don't know why.
It's very amusing.
So yes, I enjoy it. I saw it and I was like, yes, I'd love a cute eyeball on my microphone. Thank you very much. So apparently Snoop Dogg uses these. They have like some Snoop Dogg like customized one on their site. So I don't know. Me and Snoop Dogg, we just styling. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway.
It's the same mic, just now inside of a
And a
a bowling ball?
big purple instead of a big
Foam
purple
bowling
space ball.
ball.
Yes, it is. Same mic. just in there. I don't know if it helps, but it's purple.
It
and
does.
pink.
It sounds good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It also just helps me like keep my mouth in the right place. Although I did get
Keep
lazy.
your mouth in the right place.
Good advice always. I did when I got lazy. I did tend to put my mouth on it, just lean because it's so big. I just can lean on it.
Yeah, it's like a
then-
pillow. It's
Is
like
it
a big,
soft?
pillow.
Yeah.
No, it's
like a big mouth pillow.
and it smells. It's and it's.
Sorry.
Oh, mouth pillow.
This is why y'all want to show up for the live stream. This is how we roll around
it's
here.
a nice mouth pillow you got.
It is. But if I
Doubles
lean
as a
on it,
microphone.
if I lean on it, then I get all muffled because I get too comfortable. So I have to be careful. I have to be a little vigilant. Yes. I need to name this thing. If we're going to keep bringing it up, I need to name this thing so that, we can reference
so
it
funny.
like Charlie or something. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because like you and I have. Look, when did we do the DTNS thing? Was that Friday?
Thursday?
No, Thursday. That was
Thursday.
Thursday. And I noticed it, but I didn't comment on it. But I did notice it. I was like, what is that? That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a chaotic mic shield, and I love it. I don't care if it actually is effective or not. I love it.
I mean, I think it sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there are other different types of mic shields, and they are actually bigger than the one you have there. That's more compact. Some of them are literal shields. They're like this big, and they go around, around the full thing instead of being just around the microphone. So in the realm of mic shields, you got a small one. It's just they're not small.
It was so colorful. If anything, Instagram is very good. If something is purple and pink, it's gonna go in the cart. I'm sorry.
Did I show you my Instagram purchase?
No, show me, please. Make me feel better about myself. Please.
Oh, here we go.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Oh, Zebediah, Mordecai or Zebediah would be a great name for the ball. Talk to the ball.
It's
Oh yeah, Jason. Yep, that was
That's
very cool.
Atari,
Very, very cool.
in Japanese too. That's wonderful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I saw it. It was one of the few times that I saw something on Instagram that I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get that. I saw it and I navigated away from it and closed the window. And like 10 minutes later, I was still thinking of the hat. And I was like,
Oh, you got
I think I need to buy that hat. That's a
yes.
cool hat. So I got it. So it's my little nerd outfit. Now what I want is like a cool Commodore 64 hat. I know that's probably an oxymoron, but
No, it's not. An
but I'm
oxymoron.
sure
You totally can do
someone
it.
out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
has made like a cool Commodore 64 hat. I would wear the heck out of that hat.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
In fact, cool Commodore 64
I'm positive that exists.
ball cap. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. I'd have to pick through and find a good quality. When I saw this, I was like, that looks like a good quality hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is in person. It's like a very well-made hat. So I would want to do the same with a Commodore 64 one. Cool. Okay. I don't know. Those are pretty nerdy, and I'm okay with it. We'll see. Anyway.
Too funny.
Okay. So we are here.
We are. All right. Well, we prepped. We have everything we need. Do you want to get rolling?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, and just warning in advance if things suddenly get a little noisy a little bit later. It's because my wife walks through the door and my other dog goes nuts when she gets here. So I'll have my finger on the mute button if that
All
happens.
right, we'll do our best. It's all the best we can do.
Yep.
But I
It's
just kind of didn't
wonderful.
want to be up in the corner today.
All right, that's fair. And,
Spread out.
and
No.
you got the bandwidth on your side, that's for sure, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's much better down here. I need
all
to
right,
get.
and it'll be a fun April Fool's
Oh, boy.
edition of Android Faithful, everyone. So,
Oh, my youngest daughter, Savannah, totally got Stacy this morning.
oh yeah,
So today's a half day at school, and then she's going with her, and then spring break starts. So she's going away to something for 2 days with her. She's been looking forward to it for a couple of weeks. This morning, my wife went upstairs, and Savannah was like, "Mom," she was in the bathroom. She's like, "Mom, I don't feel good." And apparently she was really good at it. And she had a big like jug of water. And so
Oh
she's
my
like,
God.
"Mom, I don't feel," and then poured it into the toilet. Whoosh! totally got Stacy. It was awesome. I was like,
Amazing.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Good work. I don't know where she got that idea. Probably YouTube or something. I don't know. All right, should we do this?
My daughter got us this morning where she because my son went for volume. He was doing everything. He was just like,
Oh.
he was like, and he was just saying everything. He's like, it's snowing, April Fools. Like he wasn't even pausing. He was just doing everything. And my daughter didn't say anything. And then like 10 minutes before we're going to the bus stop, she like went outside to check the weather. And she's like, it's really warm. I don't need a jacket. And I was like, all right, well, no, I think it's chilly, but we can see. She's like, no, I don't need a jacket. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, I guess so, whatever. And like, I went to open the door, and then she went, April Fools. Like, she convinced me that it was warm, and like, and I was like, wow, she started cracking up. So I was very proud. The 6-year-old figured it out.
She
so,
got it.
Yep. So,
She got it. I can't believe they're
gosh.
6. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, we got stuff. So let's kick this show into gear and get it going. And I guess looks like I am doing the opening stuff. Happy to do that.
Cool.
Okay. Do you want to control the top of show and then I'll just do the rest?
Sure, I can do that for you, sir.
Thank you. It's just
All right.
easier than.
All right, Win, we're going to say goodbye to your purple face.
Your purple chin, actually.
Purple chin.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm gonna cover you up with that. All right.
Yay. That's
Cool.
it.
All right, and I'm going to stop my camera, but you can still hear me. Hooray.
Yep. Gotcha.
Okay, rock and roll. All right. All right, let's do a show. And music coming in now.
Hello and welcome to Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the world of Android. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Howell.
Hi, I'm also one of your hosts with a big purple ball mic shield that we're going to call Zebediah for this evening. I'm Huyen Tue Dao.
And I am Ron Richards, and we are your 3 loyal, faithful Android Faithful hosts, back for another week of the wonderful Android Faithful. Our 4th musketeer, Mishaal Rahman, is off tonight, but we will be hearing from him because he did create some news in the past week. There we go.
Oh, okay.
A little technical glitch as the music came back.
That's all right.
I thought I'd turned it off, but I turned it back on, the looping. You turned the looping off, and I turned it on, Jason. That's what happened.
I did.
But yeah, so Mishaal is off tonight, but he made some news in the Android world last week, so we pre-recorded with him a little earlier, so you're going to hear from him to talk about that story. But Jason, you were out last week, so welcome back. It's good to have you back to the show.
Welcome.
Good to have you back. Good to see the enormous mic shield that Win is now rocking. It's
So for our audio
about
listeners,
the same size as your face.
I
if
did say that. That's
Our
size
audio
of my
listeners,
head.
we talked about it last week too. But
Yeah.
Win has a
This is just my
purple-
first time, so I
Yeah.
can't not talk about
a
it.
purple ball.
Mic
If you ever saw
shield.
Spaceballs, imagine the helmets that they wore, but purple on her microphone. So,
With a pink pop filter. You cannot forget the hot pink pop filter.
yeah, exactly.
So hot,
It's
so pink.
impressive. Is
Thank
what it
you.
is.
So,
Thank you.
Jason, you were not on the show last week, and you know we've all missed the show. And when you're not on the show, are you thinking
Yeah.
about the show on Tuesday night?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes I mean, I'd say most of the time I will look at the clock and be like, oh yeah, they're doing the thing. I wonder what story they're on, that sort of
I
stuff.
feel
But
like I'm supposed to be somewhere. Do you get that feeling?
Yeah,
Like I get that
sometimes,
feeling.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't get it every time though. Sometimes it's just nice to, have a Tuesday night. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Tuesday nights are always Android night, and sometimes
true.
it's nice to have a Tuesday that is an Android night. So.
All right. Well, we got a nice, well-rounded show this week with a bunch of news, a bunch of hardware, some apps. We got emails from you folks, the listeners. But it would be irresponsible not to acknowledge today, though, right, Jason?
Yeah, because I set it up at the top. Oh, no, I guess we don't start with the date on this
don't
show. It
anymore,
is April 1st, not May 1st. Let me change that. It is April 1st, and that means it is April Fool's Day. And I think before we reveal any April Fool's things, I think it's important that we reflect on the fact that for so many years we've started our April 1st episode looking at April Fool's jokes. Yep. And it definitely seems like general sentiment around April Fool's jokes from companies has really cooled. And yes. I think I'm okay with it. But Google doesn't even do this anymore, right, Ron?
No, exactly. And that's the thing that struck me was that if you, because we've been doing podcasts about Android, Jason, you and I, for many years. Win, you've been doing it with us for many years now. It's been, right? But Jason, we have definitely done the show on April Fool's Day in the past.
Oh yeah, many times.
I remember a decade ago, discussing, judging, analyzing many April Fool's jokes, including Google's multiple April Fool's jokes. Like, remember, It wasn't just one joke from Google, but it was like multiple business units had multiple April Fool's jokes. And I just have to wonder, I forgot what year they stopped doing it. And clearly now it's not in the corporate culture to play that way. But I gotta wonder if like a month or two ago there was someone in Mountain View who was like, hey, what if we did and just how quickly it got shut down.
Everyone else is like, we don't do that anymore. We do no evil, and that's evil. Or we do evil, and we don't want to do that anymore.
Listen, unless your April Fool's joke involves Gemini, I don't want to hear it. Or not. Wait, no, don't involve Gemini in your April Fool's joke. We've done that already.
No. Gemini might be the joke. Anyways.
What I did find funny was that some companies did choose to partake, and some media outlets were covering it, but like they all seem to have a disclaimer at the top of like, what makes a good April Fool's joke? And like, it's
anybody who's writing about it just kind of feels bad that they're writing about it.
Yeah, who was it? It was the Verge on their covers. Yeah, they said there are 4 options on April Fool's Day. Don't do a joke, but actually follow through on your stunt. Do a joke, but be extremely clear that it's a dumb joke, or lie to your customers, successfully tricking them into believing them that you're making a product or rebranding when you're not. So, I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, but there's some out there, right, Jason?
The cringiest pranks, said The Verge. Yeah, so there were a couple that are probably worth noting. I think starting with. Nothing, let's see here. So Nothing has the ear 3.5 millimeter, which is a 50 meter cable, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And the kind of tease video is just, this close up beauty shot of the jack, and then followed by an endless stream of coiled wire everywhere. That leads to headphones on the other end. So, I bet you there's at least one person out there that's like, oh, I would totally buy that, if it actually existed.
I mean, Nothing did something last year, right? Didn't they do something last year? They did the beer.
Remember. I can't remember. What did they do last year?
They did do. Yeah, I think they did a beer, right? When do you remember talking about that?
No, I don't remember.
A beer?
Yeah.
Like a drinking beer? Okay.
Last year, Nothing is actually here. It is. Yep. Here you go. It is. Nothing is actually making their April Fool's beer. I just put it in the doc there, Jason, for you. You can pull it up.
Oh my
goodness! When we absolutely talked about this,
we probably did. It's really good, and it has the Nothing styling where it kind of like the specifics of the model are in parentheses, so it's beer with a. Yep. Nothing parentheses and 5.1%, which is a good beer.
Okay.
I don't know why there's a wasp on the beer. That's do wasps like beer?
I don't
Technically
know.
Refreshing.
Colorful, yeah, for some reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought of all the Android adjacent companies, Nothing seems to be the only one that's leaning into April Fools.
They're like, we're a new company. We haven't learned this lesson the hard way yet.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Then there's D-Brand with their Touch Grass promotion, which says this is not a joke, buy grass, and it's a very pixelated, kind of old school kind of thing. D-Brand, of course, is a smartphone case manufacturer, or not just smartphones, also laptops and stuff, but essentially they're, showing off their grass cases so you can touch grass every time you pick up your device. And what's weird about this is that like touching grass, literally the phrase and concept, is not isolated to just Dbrand, because Yahoo did it as well. And you can't hear it, and that's okay. You don't need to. But it's a keyboard with an agricultural interface. All the keys are little sprouts of grass. So I wonder, in my mind, I wonder if like one company or the other, when they recognize that the other company did this, we're like, God damn it.
Well, it's like the year when there were 2 Meteor movies.
Yes, and 2 volcano movies, yes.
Right.
Oh, that's so
what's
weird.
funnier, the agricultural keyboard or the fact that we're talking about Yahoo?
Yeah, right? Like Yahoo and keyboards. Like, who knew?
Yeah.
Why that? I don't know.
Very strange.
And then finally, in a very short roundup of April Fools, is the immersive Nokia 3310 experience launched at Royal Albert Hall, a symphony dedicated to the game Snake or something along those lines, but not really.
I mean, they're doing a symphony with the Nokia 3310, right? The ringtone was so iconic that they're going to do a symphony with just the phones, which I thought was very funny. So, and kind of in our world, but
Yeah. But they're not really.
they're not really. No.
That's too bad. I would pay. I would go there for that. I would go to Royal
Because,
Albert Hall.
that sounds kind of appealing, actually.
Yes.
I mean,
very
people
much.
love the Nokia 3310, right? Like
Yes.
that's the classic Nokia, right?
Yes.
I never had a Nokia.
Nah, I never did, too.
What?
Either.
When you did?
Yes, I had like 3 of those because yeah,
Oh, wow.
two of those were not intentional. It's because I took it to college and one afternoon the phone fell in my shower basket with water in it. So there goes that
Oh.
Nokia.
That's not good.
But yes, I love that phone. It was my first smartphone. I think not my first not smartphone. Sorry, my first cell phone.
Cell phone,
ever.
yeah.
I mean, I sort of have, I think, a Nokia here, but
That's not really a Nokia.
I mean, it is, but it's
that an
not one
HMD?
that I had.
Is that a true Nokia or is that
It's
a
really
licensed
cute.
Nokia?
No, this is a Nokia device, but
Yeah.
it's a Nokia. It's a Windows phone. I got this from Leo when it was a blowout of his studio when they shut down the studio.
Oh,
And
Windows.
it's a Windows device, but it can like dual boot into Android. That's why it has an Android insignia on it. So it's kind of a weird Android device.
The Lumia?
Oh, is that Am I conflating 2 different companies?
Possibly.
Is Nokia and Lumia the same? Wow, I'm suddenly brain dead. Nokia and Lumia, are they the same company?
Yeah, the Nokia Lumia 1020.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank
what
you.
it is.
There
yeah.
we go.
Oh.
All
Yeah.
right.
And it was running Windows with the little squares and everything, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently. I haven't been able to get it to power on.
That's probably
But-
a good thing.
Yeah. But, it makes a good prop in the back of my
It's really
studio.
pretty. I liked the Windows. I liked the Windows. Was it the Windows Phone OS? Is that what we're
the tiles
the tiles?
and stuff.
Yeah, Metro. I liked it a lot.
Metro.
Metro.
Man,
Metro,
I forgot about
yeah.
that. That's right.
Oh,
So there you go. That's all the news that's fit to print on April Fool's Day.
a little lackluster. I mean, didn't fall for anything. Nothing. Nobody sent me anything. It was. I feel like the world's kind of moved on from the fervor of April Fools of 10, 15 years ago when it was a big internet thing. Remember when it was
a
like
big
don't-
internet thing.
It was like don't believe anything you read from like March 31st, like halfway through March 31st until April 2nd. Like it was.
It was a big deal, and
Yeah.
people were happy to play the game.
Yep.
And then at some point, it just went off a cliff, and it was like, and myself included, I was like, all right, I think I'm done with April Fool's Day on the internet.
I'm trying to find out when Google stopped doing it.
Yeah, that's a good question, because there was a moment where they were like, yeah, we don't do that anymore.
There's a whole
We're
Wikipedia
Google.
Wikipedia page about all of their April Fool's jokes if you want to find out about that. And it looks like 2020 was the there you go. They did in 2019.
They were like, there's nothing funny this year.
Yep, and then
Okay.
and then 2020 they canceled it during COVID, and then
That's right.
They have not participated in April Fool's since then. So
Wow, it was totally a COVID-19 thing.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, we aren't going to do it out of respect for those involved
Yeah.
in this global crisis, and they've never fired it up again.
Yeah.
I will say that the Google Japan channel does something very adjacent, and they make up kind of very April Foolsy type keyboards, and then make video for them. They don't release them on April 1st.
They in like October they release them or
Like
something,
yeah,
right?
in the fall.
Yeah.
In the fall,
Yeah.
I actually got to see them in person when I visited the office. So I was very impressed. But yeah, I feel like maybe we shouldn't get Google Japan in trouble, because I would hate it if they didn't get to keep doing those anymore. But maybe because they release them off cycle, no one is fooled. They just know what it's about, so no risk of lawsuit or angry callers.
Oh, well. All right. Well, April Fool's in the books. Luckily, nothing too crazy happened or not. So, but as far as crazy or not crazy, you can be the judge. But last week, as we mentioned at the top of the show, our compatriot in Android Faithful, Mishaal Rahman over at Android Authority, broke some exclusive news, and he teased it on the show. He said he was working on something big, and then sure enough, the next day, last Wednesday, it came out. The fact that Google was going to take the development of Android fully private. And kind of a big deal from a spiritual standpoint. So while Mishaal couldn't be on the show tonight, I got him to come on earlier today, and we talked about it a little bit. So we're going to roll that now, so you can hear direct from Mishaal what the story is all about.
Roll the tape. Here we go.
Okay, and we're here with Mishaal to talk about this pretty much big news coming out of Mountain View, right, Mishaal?
Yeah, Ron. It kind of feels kind of weird to be on the other end of this kind of recording. I feel like a guest right now, giving a
It's
little,
true, but this is your own fault because you
preview.
couldn't make the show tonight. So here we are, a couple hours before recording time. But we figured, it was such a big story. We wanted, and since you wrote it, we wanted you, instead of us summarizing what you wrote, let's get it from the horse's mouth, right? So.
Yeah. So basically, I confirmed with Google that they are going to take the development of the Android OS fully in private. So for those of you who are not familiar, there are basically two main branches of development for Android. There's the public branch in AOSP, or the Android Open Source Project, and then Google has their own internal branch of development, their internal main branch. And for a very long time, since pretty much the beginning, they've maintained these two separate branches where they do most of their development, the bulk of the development internally. That's where all the cool, neat new features and stuff are being developed. And you don't see any of that in the public source code. And then they also have the public version of the source code that they, you only have a couple of projects that are being developed in public, like the Bluetooth stack, the virtualization framework, and some other things that are developed in open. But for a long time, because Google had developed these two separate branches separately, it's led to a lot of issues, because when they go to say they want to merge something from their internal to the public, or when they want to merge something from the public to the internal, because they want to have to keep some things in sync, there's often issues, because the internal branch of development for Android is significantly further ahead in terms of features and code base than the external public version. And there's also a lot of differences the other way around. So because of that, it's caused Google a lot of hours having to fix these issues when they're merging and picking changes between the public and the private versions of Android. So Google wants to simplify development. So what they're doing is they're going to be just, from now on, everything will be developed in private, behind closed doors within Google. That doesn't mean that Android is going to become closed source. They're still going to be releasing the source code for Android versions. Like, it will still get, when Google releases Android 16 later this year, we'll still get the source code for that. When Google releases the QPR1 for Android 16, we'll still get the source code for that.
Yep.
And we'll still get the source code for a couple of other things, like the Android X, which is the support libraries. We'll still get the source code for the kernel. So source code, in terms of availability of source code, is not changing. But what is changing is that the real-time visibility into certain projects that they were previously working on in the open, like Bluetooth, will no longer be visible to us in real time. We'll have to wait for Google to actually release the source code to see what they've been working on.
So now, what do you think precipitated this? Was it purely just the confusion of it, or like the conflicts that they were running into, or is this a precursor to potentially breaking Android off to be its own company?
No, I think this is just purely a long time making. I think I've talked several times in the past about Google simplifying development with the trunk stable project.
Yep.
They basically have consolidated all their work into one main branch of Android, and instead of like creating separate branches and then merging them back into it, creating separate branches and merging them back into it caused a lot of headaches for them.
Yep.
Basically, they're just simplifying things to make their lives easier, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't think this has any implications for the vast majority of people. For users, you're not going to notice any change at all whatsoever. This is not going to affect how fast your device gets updates, when your device gets updates, anything like that. You know, this is completely invisible to you. Even for app developers like Win, this change does not matter at all, right? This does not affect your work at all.
So why is this a big deal then?
This is more a big deal
Right.
in just the spirit of how Android is open source, right?
Right.
We've always treated Android like, you know, when you consider an open source project, you think of it as like the code base is open, anyone can freely contribute what they want to it, and then the people there can vote and decide whether they want to include it.
Right.
Android is not really an open source project in that sense. It's more open source in that Google provides the source code after they're done working on it.
It's open
without
source.
much input from anyone else.
It's open source in spirit, right? It's like it's in the idea that they are sharing the fruits of their labor, but it's not like I can sit here and work on a library and submit it to Google and they'll include it, right? You know,
right.
So,
For a long time, it's always been very difficult for external like platform developers, like people who work on the Lineage OS, that popular custom ROM.
yeah,
They've been able to submit like their own patches and their own work to Google, and it'd be rare, but there's a chance that they could get those contributions accepted into AOSP.
right.
But now that'll be even harder to do because the public version of Android is now going to be guaranteed to be at least a few weeks behind what's inside Google's code base internally. So it's going to be harder for them to actually come up with patches to suggest and submit to Google. Now, Google will still make it possible for developers to submit their own work and patches to Google, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated because you have to submit these patches to Google, and then Google's will have to decide whether or not they want to include it. And if they do, they won't even tell you if it's been accepted or not. And then once they do accept it, they basically going to rewrite your code, put it internally, and then put it through its paces, and then merge it. And then you won't have any idea once the code you submitted actually makes it through into that version of Android, unless you like keep up to date with the new Android latest release branch and like constantly look out for it. So things are basically changing in terms of just how the independent platform developers basically work and see how development within Android goes.
So now from your estimation, I guess two questions for you, Mishaal, watching this stuff closely. We've seen the changes, you know, post Dave Burke leading the project coming off of out of I/O last summer, and the change in leadership and stuff like that, and the movement towards the different approach and release schedule that we've seen in the last 6 months or something. Are those two related, and or is this an inevitable change, you think, or were they on the path of this, or did this surprise you when you found out about it?
I mean, it did surprise me when I found out, because this has been the norm, like this public branch of AOSP and the private, these two separate branches merging and merging between the two. That's how it's worked since like the beginning of Android.
Right.
So for them to completely go in one different direction is a huge change.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't matter for like 90% of users, because almost nobody, even like Lineage developers, nobody actually takes the fresh AOSP, the main branch of Android, and develops their projects on it. They always use some kind of release branch. Like when Google releases the quarterly release of Android 15, they take that branch. They don't take the main branch.
Right.
So even for like developers, platform developers who actually work with the source code of Android, for most people it doesn't matter, right? But it's still in the spirit of how things have changed. And even some Googlers who worked on AOSP were kind of disappointed by the change, because, you know, it just kind of, it's against the spirit of how AOSP has worked since the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and a quick note, friend of the show, Florence Ion wrote about, followed up in your article over at Gizmodo, and folks can go over and check it out. But she had spoke to industry analysts. She spoke to Carolina Milanese, a principal analyst, who said, overall nothing will change with the Android platform on the consumer-facing side. Biggest difference is how Google interfaces with developers who don't have GMS agreements. Developers will have maybe less understanding of what is coming, but their access ultimately doesn't change, which is similar to the position that you've shared, Mishaal. So I guess the biggest question is, how did you find out about it?
I mean, I know people at Google. What can I say?
Was it because Google hasn't blogged about it? Google hasn't announced it? Was it just purely
they kind of announced it? Okay,
yeah.
They published a change, they published a little notice on
Yeah.
source.android.com, which is the official website for AOSP.
Yeah.
They didn't go as in nearly as detail as I did,
Right, for
mentioning
sure.
what the changes or why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But they technically did announce it.
Right.
I mean, I guess they weren't expecting anyone to really care enough to publish a post about it.
Right.
But they forgot I exist.
They forgot you exist. or they knew what kind of ripples it will do, and kind of let's hope nobody notices or downplay it or whatever it might be, and nothing gets by you, Mishaal, I guess. So it's definitely it's good that you.
I mean, they announced it to the most important, the people who it matters to most, OEMs.
Yeah.
They sent a private notice to them.
Yeah.
That explains what's changing.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating stuff. So we'll see what the downstream implications of this, if it's just more of a spiritual bummer kind of thing and doesn't impact the larger kind of operating system as a whole, or if the speculation that this does help the potential privatization of it, if it does get spin off because of the DOJ case or whatever it might be, this certainly could help that. I know that is speculation, but it probably definitely that is a checkbox in that favor of it. Although I think it's probably way too early for any actions to be taken in that regard. But still, it's fascinating. So. Great coverage. Good job, Mishaal. That was really interesting stuff for sure. Under the hood stuff that I don't think, again, as a user of Android, I wouldn't notice. But to your point, part of the reason why we love Android is the openness of it. But I guess it was never really as open as we thought it was. So, yeah, fascinating. All right. Well, thank you, Mishaal. But you're going to come back later in the show to talk about another story you had. So we'll see you again in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'll see y'all in a few minutes, and y'all next week, or maybe the other week after.
Boom. There we go. So, okay.
So
Not as big a deal maybe as the immediate kind of response. I know when I first saw this, I was like, whoa, that feels like a major shift. And I think maybe not as big a deal just because it doesn't dramatically impact anything from a user perspective. But
will
I
it,
know
though?
when.
But
I
will
know
it?
when. Well, I don't know. When you were kind of in chat, kind of hitting back, just saying the spirit of Android is impacted by it as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some of the Android developer community talk about this, and no, this will not impact most app developers at all, and thereby by effect will not really impact users. It does impact, and there were a few people in the chat that I was kind of eavesdropping on who did contribute to AOSP, so that does affect them. But I think that was actually before we had the follow up of that there is going to be a way for external developers to contribute to the platform. So, I'm not the person to ask whether that's a good substitute or not, but I was mentioning in the chat that it's disappointing. So I think for me, my daily life, so for an app developer, the place that we live in the most is Android X, which is that support library that Mishaal mentioned in his article. And I think it's actually a really interesting comparison of Android X, why it's publicly developed and still open, versus Android the kernel, because it's a really good I think characteristic of what as part of this community, the developer community, see between Google as a corporate entity and the things that they do to further those things, like creating that vertical of the hardware teams, the Android team, and then what I perceive as the Android community, which includes the Android team at Google themselves, and that. So there's a little bit of the spirit alive, and I feel like Android X being the support library, it's where people like me live my life. That the fact that that's still public and open says something about the difference between maybe the intentions and the mission, and even the thinking of some folks on the Android team, the core Android team, and then contrast that with the rest of it being more, developed internally. And I mean, to be fair, yes, all of that makes sense to me. I work on small teams, and these merge conflicts because it can result in bugs for really difficult bugs. So I can't imagine what that would be like on a scale of an entire OS. So that it all makes sense, but I do think that something of the spirit of Android is diminished, as we've kind of been talking about for several years, and from the developer side, even though we aren't really impacted, the Android community as a whole is extremely invested in open source software, and not just here's the source code, but the open kind of public development, the collaborative efforts, the kind of idea that we're offering all these tools, the experiences, and work for everyone to participate and to enjoy. That's very much part of the spirit of the Android developer community. So it's sad. I think it hits us a little bit that, something is creeping up on us a little bit.
Things are changing.
Things are changing.
Yeah. And there's
We're
been a
fine
lot of
now,
change
but
this
yeah.
past year with a lot of things that have been somewhat stable, as far as the people who, people behind the scenes at Google commanding the Android ship. That a lot of leadership has really shuffled, which is not a bad thing. I mean, at a certain point, that's just the way it goes, right? It happens. But maybe what we're seeing are kind of some of the impact of that, which is, fresh people, fresh thinking. Well, why are we doing this when we could do it this way? And it may go counter to the way you're used to, but sometimes things need to be shuffled a little bit, Yeah. I hear you.
It's interesting. It definitely shows the winds of change are still happening. I feel like I said when I talked to Mishaal, they started last year, and I think they'll continue to blow through I/O, and I think the dust will probably settle, post I/O. Hopefully, knock on wood.
I/O will be interesting, and I/O's not that far away.
No, it's
No, it is not.
It is
So
a
close.
month and a half away. Wow.
Well, there's been some more news lately that kind of gives us a little more introspection into what is going on at Google, and unsurprisingly, things that we've talked about, like and kind of this thread that runs behind them, not just of what we're talking about now, but maybe of the interesting kind of intra-competitiveness of products at Google. So I think we mentioned a rumor some weeks ago about this thing called Pixel Sense, which sounds like it's like a souped up AI agentic version of what Google Now used to be, where it kind of, tries to proactively provide users predictive suggestions, right, based on your personal data. Now, there actually was a report from the publication The Information that gives a little background on what Pixel Sense's precursor, Pixie, which we've also mentioned before, what happened to that and what's going on. So this report from The Information highlights what it calls turf disputes within Google between different products. So there are multiple examples, and we've kind of touched on them a little bit, and we've even talked out loud on the show, how many times we see two products and these are both Google things. Why do they have two things that are so similar? And even things that are a little more maybe benign, why does Fuchsia exist if there's also Android, or kind of all these little things. Well, so what happened is this article from The Information has multiple examples of competing products and the tensions between them internal to Google. One intriguing example that's not quite Android but Android adjacent is Notebook LM, which got a lot of publicity, right? It was like that kind of document summarizing thing where you could also generate podcasts from lots of different documents. Got a lot of great praise, good press for Google, but that particular product already clashed with work being done in Workspace, so they had to figure stuff out. So the one that Android faithful fans might be more interested in is this report on Pixie, which was an AI assistant. And we talked about this, I think, some weeks ago. It's not an AI assistant as we think Gemini is, where we're talking to it as a chatbot, but more it was meant to be agentic, very much agentic, an AI agent that could actually perform tasks across different apps, multiple apps on your device, and do things such as, quote, complex and multimodal tasks, such as suggesting directions to the closest store where someone can buy a product that they photograph. So there's that idea of never mind, for example, multimodal, and then synthesizing things and then doing that thing for you, right? And according to this report, there was also a report that came out at the end of 2023, also from The Information. It was said that this Pixie assistant, we'll call it air quotes assistant, was said to use Gmail, Maps, and other personal data from other Google products to kind of synthesize thing and to be, quote, a far more personalized version of the Google Assistant. So you can see how like far back this is when we were still thinking that Google Assistant, we were still talking about Google Assistant like, you know, like it existed. So from what I've read, it sounds very much like, hey, this is a job for Gemini. And that's more or less what happened internally into Pixie. And in fact, the functionality that was Pixie got split into two separate places. The first is actually pixel screenshot. So a lot of that functionality that, you know, kind of was in that little like blurb about, you know, being able to kind of pull information and do things based on a photograph. Sounds like pixel screenshots, right? Where it catalogs screenshots for you and tries to use the information that screenshots to proactively suggest or help you, you know, execute tasks based on the screenshots. And then the other bit of functionality that was Pixie ended up kind of being kind of converted for parts for Gemini. That sounds very harsh, but that sounds basically what it is. And so I guess it's not surprising, right? Because we've kind of already witnessed this weird battle between, okay, we had Google Assistant, a lot of us really liked it, but now we have Gemini and the AI future that is the AI now. And it's really just interesting to see how Pixie was, I guess you can say, a casualty of that. And given that Pixel Sense, this thing that we were hearing rumored might be available on the Pixel 10, sounds a lot like Pixie. And again, kind of eating where Gemini already is. And it's meant to be kind of, again, proactive, suggesting you things, not an active AI chatbot where you ask it questions, you all have a conversation. This is more just like, again, like Google now, where it kind of just like puts stuff in front of you and be like, hey, maybe you need this kind of thing. But I don't know. It's really interesting, and maybe we'll actually see Pixel Sense come out as long as it stays in its
in its zone, in its box.
In its zone,
right? Yeah,
but
exactly.
Stay in your lane, Pixel Sense.
But it's just crazy. That's all happening inside of Google.
I mean, what's so funny is that like like Pixel screenshots when they announce it, like, oh, this is so great, it's so powerful, and I have never used Pixel screenshots since it's come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I use it.
like what I have found is that screenshots are so ephemeral, and that I take a screenshot and then I take an action with it. I take a screenshot and I see something and I send it to Jason, and then I never refer to it again. And there might
Never
be
need
times
to,
where I took a
yeah.
screenshot for something for my own edification or use, but like for me, it's like once I've taken the screenshot and sent it, it's gone, right? And so I get the idea of like they had a really cool thing and then broke it into parts for other applications, but what are the value of those applications, I guess is my question.
No, and I think that's a really fair point, because when I read that, I was like, so you took something that was like a multimodal agent that could have done stuff, and then you made screenshots.
Yeah, right.
I'm looking through my Pixel Screenshots app to see like what's collected in there, and
gotta be
like
embarrassing.
half of them QR codes.
I don't even think I even looked. I'm embarrassed to see
That's
what
so
it is.
funny.
Oh, I have a lot of accidental screenshots because I have the double tap to screenshot on, and I apparently tap my phone a whole bunch.
I will say that in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about the Nothing Phone 3A, because I did you and we got some news coming up. And the Essential Space button is kind of like Pixel Screenshots, but done even better. And I would use the heck out of that if it was on the Pixel. But anyways, so that's a little tease, something coming up. Interesting stuff there. And then we have Samsung's Galaxy S25 series, which everybody wanted to, include. I put out a video and an article that said, wait until the S26, Ultra. I didn't say wait. I just said, here are reasons why you might want to wait. I didn't say you should, but anyways, absolved myself a little bit there. But apparently the Galaxy S25 series is a big hit for Samsung. Sales of the S25 in the first month, 4.25 million. That tripled the S24's first month at 1.42 million. That's a huge jump. That's pretty impressive. Samsung actually apparently expected to sell more this time around. I wonder what exactly had them projecting that, because they were right, according to Hana Securities, which is the company or the outfit that did the report here. So based on their information, but S25 series, I've got the S25 Ultra right here, and yeah, it's good. It's just kind of like, okay, it's another one, and it does. It's like there's nothing outwardly bad about it, maybe except for the fact that the stylus doesn't have any Bluetooth. But other than that, it's just kind of like, okay, it's another one. Okay.
Yep. There are always going to be. I mean, there's always going to be another one. That's the thing. Like there'll be a 26. It's going to, I sincerely doubt that Samsung is going to completely overhaul and redesign the whole line. It's going to be these iterative kind of changes. And so I feel like, but for whatever reason, this one hit a note, and whether it just caught like what phone came out several years before in the adolescence phase, not adolescence, man.
Right, but like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, the obsolescence rate. Yeah, exactly. So
just a natural
that's
rhythm.
A good point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Were the sales numbers for the 24 unusually low or average? 'Cause if it was extra low, maybe it's just by comparison.
Yep.
I don't know. That's just navel gazing, speculating.
Yeah.
Something.
Who knows?
We do that here.
So.
That's
We do indeed. And part of it is because it's fun, and we love it when you all, the audience, get involved, especially when you tell us what to talk about. And that special privilege is reserved for our loyal patrons. If you head over to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, our subscribed patrons can take part in a vote once a week to pick a topic for us to talk about here on the show. Have been mixing it up from news to more of hot takes, and this week kind of mixed it up a little bit. And we had some interesting articles, and honestly, I was surprised. I didn't know that the winning article was going to resonate as much as it did. But if you head over to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, you can see we celebrated the beginning of baseball with a wonderful little bug droid graphic, which those of you not on Patreon, you can go to our social media. I posted this across our social media as well. I created this graphic using Gemini, where I had the bug droid eating a hot dog in the stands at a baseball game. And if you zoom in on the scoreboard in the background, you can see it says Android News on the scoreboard, which is
Android News.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
So,
I love the detail. And
I
just say,
really good.
It does look really good. And can I just say, I would kill for a hot dog right now. That hot dog looks so good.
It looks very good.
Throw some sauerkraut on that sucker. I'd eat it right now.
I don't think there's anything more appetizing than an AI generated hot dog. So there you go.
Why is this not cooperating? What's going on?
So our 3 articles that were up for vote this week, that now I cannot read,
there we go.
were
crazy.
Coming in last, which I was so bummed out, the Light Phone 3 review, everything in moderation. Now that the $799 Light Phone 3 is out, the reviews are coming in. That only got 9% of the vote. I wanted to talk about the Light Phone.
Wow, I'm surprised at that.
Yeah.
But
I know.
I mean, maybe be a show that's all about Android, as Android Faithful is. Maybe is filled with people that are like, I don't want a dumb phone. I want a smartphone.
It is running Android though. Coming in second with 13% of the vote was the rise and fall of the motorized selfie camera on Android.
Oh, that's a good one.
A great piece over on Android Police that I loved reading, which was the history of the motorized selfie camera, which I love the little OnePlus camera that peeked out of my phone and went back in its little hole and stuff like that. I don't know why those went away, but
I need to read that article because that's totally a phase of Android I completely forgot. And the fact that it would sense if it dropped and it would go in before it hit the ground. That's right.
Yep, indeed. But the winning article by a landslide with, what is the final number? 79% or what is it?
79%. Yeah.
79%.
Yeah, big time.
Is the fact that, and this is over on Android Authority, phone makers are ditching Gorilla Glass, but what gives? And Hadley Simons wrote this over at Android Authority, asking the question, are brands trying to reduce costs by abandoning Gorilla Glass at the high end, or is it something else altogether? And Hadley goes in to discuss further the fact that you're seeing a trend amongst OEMs, because there was at a point where, and Jason, I remember this when we would read specs of new phones, like they've got Gorilla Glass, it's got Gorilla Glass. It became so de facto that everyone used Corning Gorilla Glass.
Yeah, and you just kind of stopped noticing because it was like, they all have Gorilla Glass.
But then eventually what you're seeing is that you're seeing Honor stop using Gorilla Glass, and Xiaomi stop using Gorilla Glass, and they're using Gorilla Glass on their cheaper phones, but their flagship devices, they've developed their own glass solutions or things like that. And so the question is whether or not it's the cost of the Gorilla Glass, or is it they're coming up with their flavor, like the Xiaomi Shield glass. They're coming up with a version of glass that is more protective than Gorilla Glass or not, which I thought was a really, really good question, because I just assumed that Gorilla Glass was the de facto standard. What do you guys think is going on here? Do you think that this is the beginning of the end for Gorilla Glass, or is this just an aberration and just something Xiaomi and Honor are doing?
I don't think it's the beginning of the end for Gorilla Glass, but but I mean, I can also say, like, again, tease ahead to the Nothing Phone 3A that we'll talk about. This has Panda Glass. It's called Panda Glass. It's like a Chinese company glass as well. And I will say about this that this phone came shipped with the plastic screen protector, as often Nothing phones do, and OnePlus and all that. You get it out of the box. It has the screen protector already applied. I took it off for the review, and within like a day, I had a little scratch on the display. So purely subjectively, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about this Panda Glass.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I mean, is it cost? It's probably when you have a product like Gorilla Glass that everybody is using, it's kind of like, Qualcomm and Snapdragon processors. It's like everybody uses it, so it's probably pretty darn expensive to use it. But if it's the industry standard, if it's what people are looking for, then there's more reason to want to use it. And maybe you just kind of hit a point to where you're like, you know what, this might be a step down, but good enough for the money that we save per unit.
I mean, I've got the Google Pixel. What version are we on? 9 Pro. That's got Gorilla Glass, right? The Pixels, they use Gorilla Glass, don't they? Can we confirm that? Can someone confirm that for me? Because once again, I got a big old scratch on my display again.
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect.
Victus 2, Gorilla Glass Victus 2. No, it's not perfect. They never are. They never truly get rid of any sort of potential of scratch.
I mean, Gorilla Glass is made by Corning, which is a American company.
Yep.
So it feels like a lot of the Chinese manufacturers, for whatever reasons, whether it's specifically tariffs or just general wanting to be reliant on domestically produced goods and materials, maybe that's something to do with it as well. And this is just in the works.
I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah.
I don't know, just between Huawei's got Harmony. I don't know, just seems like maybe they just like it. There's this phrase that I've heard, not invented here, NIH syndrome, was like where companies tend to prefer things that were developed in-house. I think I'm not as mad about it. It's a little bit more difficult to talk about for kind of hardware and manufacturing, and software is usually used as like a pejorative, like, oh, he's not comfortable with, like, you only want to invent it yourself. But I think there's something. It's just also why, like, there's so many different, like, wireless charging standards as well, right? Just, I don't know, an opportunity for innovation, but then also to either save money, or I don't know if there's some kind of
well, and it's interesting because Hadley spoke to Honor, in the article. You go back and read it, and they're getting into really deep kind of details around the drop percentages and benchmarking against the percentage of the durability of the glass and all this sort of stuff. And so maybe Honor and Xiaomi are just kind of dedicated to finding the best possible product they can get for their flagships, and they feel as if they need to control that in order to going to a external kind of a vendor for an off the shelf kind of product. They want just a little extra more durability that they can have a little more control, cost a little more money, that sort of thing. So who knows? Could be I don't know. And it's important to note, we're seeing this on Xiaomi and Honor. We're not seeing this on Pixel. We're not seeing this on Samsung. We're not seeing this on phones that we can get here in the US. So really interesting. So yeah, so that's where you keep an eye on what's going on Gorilla Glass, and we'll keep an eye on what's going over on Patreon. And we want to thank everybody for signing up at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. Specifically, we want to thank Andrew Myrick, who supported us over at Patreon. And you can go over there and get an ad-free version of the podcast. You can get a sticker, you get a T-shirt if you sign up at the higher level. And we appreciate everybody who supports the show. And stay tuned because later this month we're gonna have some exciting stuff coming to Patreon. So the wheels are turning. We're getting there.
We got some cool wheels turning.
Yep.
I think you guys are gonna like it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break, and then on the other side of the break, we'll talk about the thing I keep teasing, the Nothing Phone 3A, and some news around that. That's coming up in a second. Okay, maybe more than a second. That was more like a minute or two. But yeah, what are you gonna do? You're still here listening, right? Okay. Let's talk a little about nothing. So first of all, just to get it out of the way, I did a full review of the Nothing Phone 3A. It's on my YouTube channel. You can also find, I'm writing for ZDNet now, and I have a written review on ZDNet. So just do a search for my name as ZDNet. You'll find it. But anyways, the news that is tied to this is an update on Nothing OS. Series, let's see here, OS 3.1 for version 3A. Sorry, I'm doing multiple things as I'm trying to talk here. Sometimes it's not very easy to. There we go. And basically, the main thing that this brings to the Nothing Phone 3A is an update to. I mean, it brings a couple of things, but the primary thing that most people, got most to notice is that it's an update to the Essential Space. And have we talked much about Essential Space on Android Faithful?
We have not.
We haven't. So
I think we've been waiting for your review and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah. So basically, Essential Space is it's kind of like Nothing's. Well, it is. It's Nothing's primary AI vector, let's say. On Pixel devices, you got Gemini, and of course there's Gemini on the Nothing Phone. But it's a certain section, like a certain software feature that is tied into AI, but I think done with restraint and done pretty thoughtfully. It's very basic right now. Essentially, like I don't have my overhead camera powered up right now, but there is a side button on the side of the Nothing Phone 3A and on the side of the 3A Pro. That's like very different from any other buttons, which tells me that Nothing really wants you to push it. It's kind of like, oh, it's different. Aren't you curious what that does? And essentially what it does is like if you tap and hold it, it takes the screenshots, kind of similar to the screenshots app, right? It takes the screenshot and then it gives you this little dialog box that you can attach a note to. Or, sorry, that's if you just tap it. If you tap and hold it and then keep your finger held down, it takes a shot and it continues to record an audio recording until you let go. And so I found it to be really useful, just like on the go, if I have like an idea of like, I need to remember to do this, or this is some random thought that came through my mind that I would like to do a video of or whatever. Instead of like having to like wait until, I get to some place to do it and then I might forget by the time I just tap and hold and just sputter it out. And then when I let go, that gets filed into Essential Space. It gets transcribed automatically and it becomes actionable. So the reminders turn into reminders, actual reminders on the OS. So that, at the time that you stayed, if you stayed a time, it pops up and lets you know. Everything becomes kind of malleable, in an AI sort of way. And that's kind of all it does. This update, what it does is it enables the camera to integrate with Essential Space. So if you have your camera app open and you point it at something, then you can hit the Essential Space button. And instead of taking a screenshot, it takes whatever the image is in the camera and files that in there. That image doesn't end up in your camera roll. It ends up in Essential Space with whatever the note is that you attach to it. So that can be really useful just kind of on the fly. And I just found the feature to be really handy. Like for forgetful, scattered me, I get ideas all the time that I'm constantly like, how do I capture this idea? And if I don't do it that moment, then it's gone. And I found with this that it was so easy that I just threw it in there and then I always had it. And it was also searchable, it was converted to text. So I could then, bring that into something and work with it or whatever the case may be. I just really, really simple and easy to use, and I suppose you could compare it to like on the Pixel there being, tap the power button and hold it down to summon Gemini, but not really the same thing because the Essential Space button really is its own thing, separate of everything else. Literally from the lock screen, I don't have it powered up right now, but from the lock screen, I can tap and hold and it immediately starts recording a voice memo. And I just found that to be incredibly useful, and I would love to see more development around that. And I know that Nothing plans to do that. So.
Cool. So,
yeah.
And I know that there was some chatter about that button because there's wondering whether or not it's going to remain free or not.
Yeah,
be some sort of free. There's speculation around that, right?
That is the thing. Yeah, I mean, that would be a big bummer, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't.
You found it that impactful.
I found it really useful. Yeah, it was one of my favorite things of the phone, and I used the phone for 3 weeks.
Would you pay a subscription price for it?
I don't know. I'm so subscription priced out right now. I mean, so just to kind of recap a little bit of this piece of the news, there was, an APK down, Android Authority looked at it, at the code in there, and there's all these mentions to free trial, AI credits, strings that hint at a possible, expiration of a free trial. And then the string that even mentions $120, doesn't mention whether that's per month, although I doubt that would be per month, or per year. Probably more likely that, because, $10 a month subscriptions are pretty much the norm these days. I don't know that I'd pay that, to be honest. It's useful. And I kind of would be angry, I think, at Nothing if they did that. They're still new, and I get you got to make money the way you can, but if this is happening on device, which my suspicion is that the current AI tendrils are happening on device, I could be wrong, I didn't look that up, but then why are you charging for it? I mean, they have some new features that were also alluded to: smart collections, focus search, flip to record. None of those automatically tell me $10 a month. I mean, especially when you consider $10 a month for getting full access to something like ChatGPT, although I realize that's $20 a month. But you know what I mean? You get more out of other things. And I think Nothing, continue playing to your strengths without trying to go there yet. Maybe you go there down the line when you've got more to offer. But I love the feature. It would be a bummer to see it locked behind a paywall.
It's also,
and especially because there's a hardware button. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yes, no. I was going to
I mean?
that is what I want to say, is that I'm going to assume that if it is the case that they subscription lock that functionality, that they would have to let you remap it, because the idea that a hardware button on my phone could just be a dud because I don't want to pay a subscription would be absolutely, that would be horrific product design. So I really hope that at least it's that, but that is disappointing because.
I mean, this reminds me of the remotes that have the pre-programmed buttons on them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you might never use those services, but yet your remote is constantly advertising that and only has that function.
Or a button that launches something like Bixby.
Yeah.
So.
Did Samsung do that?
They did. Wasn't there a Bixby button?
They did. Yeah,
there was a Bixby button. That's right. I remember saying that. Bixby button. And it
Bixby button.
So illiterate.
We made fun of it relentlessly. Yeah.
The Bixby button.
Bixby button.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know we're running long and we got a lot to get through, but Nothing Phone 3A, thumbs up, thumbs down? What was your...
Oh, I give it a pretty big thumbs up. I really did like it. There's an interesting
That's a great still. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let me go ahead and hit play, so not just frozen on me. So I did a full review on my YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search for Jason Howell or ZDNet. And yes, I'm a big fan of this phone. I really enjoyed using it for the 3 weeks that I did. I'd say the downer are the cameras, which, it's the $379 phone. You can't get everything right, but I'd say almost everything else, total win. Right now it's definitely in line for one of my favorite phones of this year so far. Absolutely.
Cool.
100%.
Awesome. All right, everybody's got to go watch your video and go read the review on ZDNet.
Jason, the editing on that video is so freaking fun. I'm just sitting here. I kind of stopped paying attention to what Ron was saying because I was like, oh, that video is so well done. I love it. So
thanks. I was like, I don't want to be in my studio. I go to the vineyards in Sonoma County and do a video there. And it was great because it was this beautiful spring day and I just had a great time.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Sweet. All right. Some quick Google Pixel 9a news. We know that they announced it, and there was a problem with a component, and they just didn't ship any of the review units, and everything got put on hold. Well, now we have a launch date, and it's very, very soon. In fact, it's going to be next Thursday, April 10th. So the Google Pixel 9a is not up for sale yet, but it will be very soon, and it will officially launch on April 10th.
And we all get to take a look at it in person eventually and go,
Yes.
do we miss the camera bar? Does the does it lack personality? Like, these are all questions that we can answer eventually.
We will find out post April 10th. So tune in to this show on April 15th for at least, I imagine, Jason, you're getting one. I think Mishaal's getting one. So we'll get
I hope too.
hopefully, knock on wood, you guys get some, and then we can find out what people think of it. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm really torn when I look at this. The design, it's like on one hand, I'm like, okay, it looks pretty slick, but on the other hand, it's just kind of a little bland too, So I don't know. I'm curious to get my hands on it.
Yep.
Only saving grace is it's got a pank, but that's
Got the
pretty
pank.
much it. Got the
Pank is in the house.
It is. Something that isn't quite in the house yet is the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, but we do have a little bit of a leaky peaky thanks to renders, and I think y'all might have been underwhelmed by our previous reporting of the specs of the rest of the Pixel 10 series because they were pretty much the same as the Pixel 9, a millimeter here, a millimeter there. Well, guess what? The Pixel 10 Pro Fold ain't much different. It's like, it looks like, according to this article from Android Headlines, it might be 0.01 to 0.33 millimeters off here or there. Otherwise, it's identical. It probably will be thinner because thin is in this year, a la Honor and
Indeed.
Oppo. It might
Samsung.
have the Tensor, will have the Tensor G5, so a little bit of a bump in the processor, but that's kind of it. It's got the same size from the renders, just from the CADs. The camera itself is the same size as previous models, or like the same sensors, or at least same size sensors, same amount of RAM, same storage options, a little bit thinner, but not as thin reportedly as Oppo or Honor's offerings this year. So this Pixel 10 Pro Fold, which is still very difficult to say, but we'll call it by its codename Rango, is a lot of the same Go as last year. So I don't know. That
good
was
one.
terrible. No, don't
I
don't
like
draw
that.
attention to it. Don't draw attention to it. It was terrible. But yeah, that's basically the news, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of news around the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. Will I get it? I don't know.
It did the pre-fold have? Was it as bezel-tastic as this?
It was pretty. It's pretty bezel. Hold on, let me. Yeah, it's bezel-tastic.
I don't mind a bezel.
I don't mind. I'm not
it.
saying that I mind it. I'm just
People
noticing like there's a thick border there.
Give me a nice border around something to give me the definition. I'm okay with that.
I don't mind a border as long as it's uniform. When they
Yes.
aren't
Thank
uniform
you.
and it's like the top and bottom are a little different, like
Yep.
ew, it's like icky. But
So
I don't
is that-
mind. I don't mind it.
Is that a pinhole camera in the upper right hand corner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that on the is that on the 9?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But it's really samesies. Like, I looked at it, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the Pixel 10?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. The
Okay.
stack camera bump and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So I got
Google
that.
and Samsung both playing by the rule of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess.
So here's the thing. Here's the tip, Google. And I know it's probably too late and you're too far in the supply chain, but if you're not going to tweak the specs, then give us a Pank version. Give us a blue one. Give us something. Give us, right? Look at Win is reaching for the camera as if I just gave her air and oxygen, right? Right? Like if you're gonna not radically design the change of the design of the phone, then give us something to differentiate it. Give us more color options, more colorways, or something like that to make it unique. I don't know.
Yeah.
I might not buy this one. I might just go with the what fold are we in this year? 7? No, 9. No, what is it? 8, 7,
9.
No, for the Samsung.
Oh, 7?
7?
7.
I might just go with the 7 this year, just
can't even
because
remember.
Yeah.
it's the same. It's the same. It might be a little bit cheaper. That's like a rumor. It might be a little bit cheaper, but if it's not significantly cheaper,
Yeah. Right.
How am I gonna pay
Also,
for
guess
this
what,
thing?
Win? And I don't, not to burst all of our collective bubble, because I know this is the Popcorn Kettle Black. We don't need to buy a new phone every year.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's
That is
true.
very
If-
true. That is very true.
if
Why
the
do you gotta
Pixel-
be all like responsible about it, Ron?
Yeah, jeez.
If the Pixel Fold 9 Fold, whatever version you're on, is working, if it ain't broke, just use it. So
I mean, honestly, in that regard, I might be failing a little bit. I've dropped this thing a few times. Yeah.
how's the Gorilla Glass?
It's fine. I have glass on top of the Gorilla Glass.
Oh, jeez.
So that glass is jacked, but the Gorilla Glass is fine.
All right, cool. Well, good stuff, hardware. All right, up next, we've got some apps, and then we're going to hear from you and your feedback, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with apps. All right, and in the apps world, Google wants you to get ready for your summer travels, and I got to give them credit. This is a clever way to roll out features and functionality, because here we are, spring is knocking on the door, although I'll tell you it's freezing in New York right now. It's driving me crazy. I need it to be nicer weather. But Google posted to the keyword blog a post last week, 5 tips for summer travel prep. And it was a bunch of features and examples of how you can plan your summer vacations with Google's various products. Some of them are eye-roll inducing, but some of them actually, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a game changer. So the first one they highlighted was the fact that with a simple search query in Google of basically of if you type in show me an itinerary or create an itinerary for a trip to Chicago with a focus on pizza, whatever it might be, their AI overview product will generate a trip itinerary for whatever place that you entered in. So it'll give you multiple days, things to visit, things to look at, and kind of give you an AI generated trip itinerary for a potential destination. That's not how I travel. I'm more specific and I know where I want to go, where I want to stay. But some people are looking for ideas. This could be a way to get ideas. That's neat. The next one that they highlighted is the one where I went, oh, snap. They've introduced hotel price tracking, which if you're a traveler and you know how between dynamic pricing and surge pricing and all this sort of stuff, when to know to pull the trigger on that booking is an art. And there are so many, and Google Flights already does it for you with airlines. I use Hopper for flights, but there's been no real good hotel tool that does it. And I'm going to use the heck out of this, because with this tool now, basically what they allow you to do is to go to google.com/hotels, and you can track prices for hotels in a specific city across a date range. And then you can, put in what other search filters you want, how many star hotel it is, what price range you want, and they will track it for you and keep it track for you. And this works not only on their desktop browser, but on mobile browsers, which is great, because oftentimes I'm doing my travel planning while I'm on the subway or whatever it might be. And so this is like perfect, Google. Thank you. This is
love that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Additionally, we were talking about screenshots earlier. They advocate turning your screenshots into plans with Google Maps. So basically, if you're on social media or on the web or anything like that, and you think that you see somebody talking about a location, take a screenshot of it, and you can then pull that screenshot into Google Maps, and it will use AI to detect the words in that screenshot to then locate the spot in the screenshot and show you where it is on a map.
That is such a specific example.
Yes, it is.
You happen to be on social media and someone happens to be talking about a location, and you happen to take a screenshot of that person talking about a location, then we've got the solution for you.
So Google Maps now has a section, has a list in it for screenshots, and it will automatically identify the places in your screenshots, and you can review and save the ones you want to save of a list of destinations you might want to go to because you screenshotted them. So look at that, bookending the screenshot thing.
Yes, there you go.
Then, of course, you could talk to Gemini and ask it for travel inspiration, help Gemini do your travel plans. That's neat. And then lastly, you can use Google Lens in the Android app and Google Lens as a AI-powered tour guide which I got to admit, I'm using Google Lens more and more. I'll be out with my kids and my daughter will come up to me with a bug and be like, what is this? And I'll shoot it with Google Lens. It'll tell me what kind of bug it is and stuff like that. This is great if you're traveling. If you see like the example here is like, you're in Europe and there's a little door that says Vino under it. It's the little wine doors in Italy. It kind of tells you what the world is around you. Google has this immense amount of knowledge in its data banks. Google Lens is a great way to access it. So tons and tons of really powerful tools. And this is a clever way of gathering it in the context of travel. So good job, Google. I'm definitely going to track the heck out of my hotel plans, price planning. So there it is.
Way to go, Google.
Indeed. And in addition to that, there's some interesting features coming potentially to Chrome for Android, and this is the return of Mishaal as he posted.
Oh, hey, Mishaal, you're back.
Not quite yet, but he posted an article earlier today on Android Authority, and I talked to him earlier today about it, and so we're going to roll that right now. All right, and we're back with Mishaal. Welcome back, Mishaal. We missed you.
Yeah, it's good to be back after just a few seconds of you ending recording and starting recording again.
But for our listening audience, it's been about probably about 45 minutes or so since we last heard from you. You had another great article that just actually dropped earlier today that has some pretty big implications for Chrome users, right?
Yeah, that's right, Ron. So a couple of months ago, I reported that Google was working on a new desktop version of Chrome for Android that supports extensions. At the time, it wasn't working. Like, they didn't have any of the capabilities to actually install and use extensions. But now I took another look, and they actually recently added the ability to actually install extensions in this special version of Chrome for Android. So I went ahead and installed it on my device and took it for a spin.
Cool. And what did you find?
I mean, it works exactly as you'd expect. Like I was able to install Dark Reader and make web pages go dark. I was able to install the Keepa price tracker extension for Amazon, and I was able to see, the price history for certain Amazon listings. I was able to install uBlock Origin to block ads, and all that worked as expected. But there were some things to note, because this is very early stages of development for the extension support in Android. I wasn't able to install extensions from the Chrome Web Store. I had to manually sideload them by dragging and dropping the CRX files into the Chrome extensions developer page.
Yeah. So that was my big question: is if somebody at home wants to do this, what steps do they need to follow? Do they need to download a special version of Chrome? How do they get the extensions, etc.? So all the instructions are in your article on Android Authority, but can you summarize exactly how they would need to do it? It's just a matter of getting those extensions, or anything else they need to do?
Yeah, you have to install the special version of Chrome, which is not available on the Google Play Store right now. Google only makes it available through their online build server for Chromium. Chromium, by the way, this is the open source version of Chrome. So there are two caveats. Obviously, the fact that you have to go through this manual installation process. And two, because this is Chromium and not Google Chrome, that means you're missing features like Google Sync. So you can't sign into your Google account if you install this version of Chrome.
Gotcha.
For your device. So this is more just like an early hands-on first impressions. Like, I don't recommend you really go and use this for yourself. Because, as I mentioned, it's still very half-baked. You can't install extensions through the Chrome Web Store. And two, one thing I noticed is that when you close out the Chromium app and you open it back up, all your extensions are gone. You have to manually reinstall them all. So this is still a very, very early work in progress. But the fact that there's finally a version of Chrome with extension support, I think is still a huge deal.
Sure.
Even if
it just shows that it's coming, right? It shows that they're working out the kinks, and that we could potentially see a future version of Chrome on a tablet that enables extensions, which is awesome, which would be very cool.
Although the issue with that is, as far as I know, it seems like Google is only intending for these desktop Android versions of Chrome to land on Chromebooks and future PCs that run Android, and not mobile devices like tablets or phones.
Interesting.
Because as I reported earlier, Google wants to basically transition Chrome OS into an Android base.
Right.
And one of the things they need to do that is to reach feature parity between Chrome OS and Android. And Chrome OS has a full-fledged version of Chrome with extension support, but Android does not, which is why they're making this special version of Chrome for desktop Android builds.
Got it. Well, interesting stuff. Very cool. Very cool stuff. So appreciate it. Before we say goodbye again, I just wanted to one more time call out and thank you for the use of the bug droids in your coverage of all your articles. It is always nice to see the little happy bug droids in your photos. So bravo. Bravo, Mishaal.
Yeah, anytime, the moment I get a new one, you'll immediately start seeing it in all my articles.
That's how you know. Whenever I'm scanning my news feed, when I see the thumbnails, I'm like, oh, there's a Mishaal article. There's a Mishaal article. So good stuff. All right, well, Mishaal, thanks for taking time every day. Enjoy the night off from the show, and we'll see you. We won't see you next week, though. You're off next week as well, so we'll see you in 2 weeks back on the show on the 15th. So, all right, take it easy, my friend, and thanks again.
All right, thanks, and bye, y'all.
Yeah, whatever.
So you got it. Extensions come into Chrome in some way, shape, or form of Android, but not on your phone. Maybe on laptops or.
I wonder out loud if it's like a performance issue, because I presume like whatever they're doing to process the extensions might just not be as. It just might just take up a lot of resources. I wonder on mobile, and they just want to make sure it's on a platform where it can easily support it without too much muss and fuss.
Possibly.
Like a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Getting flashbacks of Adobe Flash on mobile and everything, where it was like, oh, we gotta have Flash on mobile, we gotta do it, and then at a certain point they were just like, we shouldn't do this. This
is a bad idea.
This needs to not happen. Oh boy, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's how I got into Android, is when Steve Jobs single-handedly killed Flash with some words. So I guess that all worked out. Okay, anyway.
Interesting. Well, Perplexity, the app that I use quite a bit actually, is working on bringing a new feature to the Android Perplexity app. So this isn't baked into the system the way Circle to Search is, but it's kind of like Perplexity's version of Circle to Search. And it happens within the app. If you've got your stuff inside of the app, you can use your finger to draw a circle around something and say, show me more information about this particular thing. It'll analyze only that portion of the screen and kick it back with some context on that particular part. So very similar to Circle Search, just not for the system. It's just Perplexity based, but yeah. And they probably won't call it Circle to Search because I think Google probably has a license to that. So
I was going to say, where I wonder where the line on not the patent or the license or the concept of it. I mean, because the interface. Yeah. I guess Google can't patent the idea of circling something and searching for it, but could they? I don't know. I wonder if this is going to trigger any sort of legal action from Google.
I mean, Apple could patent the pinch to zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. So why? Yeah. Interesting.
So why not?
But didn't Google invest? Who did Google invest in? Who did Claude? That's not Perplexity,
Anthropic.
right? Anthropic. Okay, Google,
Claude
Google has a stake in Anthropic, not in Perplexity. Sorry, it's so hard I can't keep up. So anyway.
Can't keep up, man. I can't either, and I do a show about it every week.
I know, tell me about it.
All right, well,
what you got?
Well, if you're a gamer and you have Android Auto, well, if you're a certain kind of gamer at Android Auto, you might be happy because the current beta version of Android Auto brings 4 games, support for 4 games to Android Auto. Those would be Candy Crush Soda Saga, Angry Birds 2, Farm Hero Saga, and Beach Buggy Racing. So Google did announce at the start of March that gaming support was coming to Android Auto. But with the latest update, you actually get some games. So if you are a fan of these games, you will need to have them installed already on your phone. And the games are unsurprisingly only accessible when you are parked. Please don't try to play Candy Crush or Angry Birds or Buggy Racing while you're driving. In fact, if you do try to drive away while you're playing these games, the game will close immediately and the app icon will gray out until you park your car. And
take that, distracted driver.
Good safety tools there.
Good
this
safety
is
tools.
Crazy.
I can't say that I haven't 20. What's the game with the 2024 2020, whichever that game is.
2024, whatever that is.
2048, whatever that game is, where you make the numbers.
Yeah, maybe that's
I've
it.
definitely played that a lot in desperation, waiting for my husband at DMV. So.
Yeah. Let's say
on a screen in the car.
Yes, on our EV.
Yeah.
By the way, this update will also give you full screen apps. In Android Auto, it's not really clear I don't know which app specifically will have full screen, but you have that as well. But hopefully, I'm not sure if that is just on parked software as well, because I feel like full screen on your is a little distracting also in Android Auto while you're driving. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if you're parked and you really want that full screen experience, watching you some YouTube or something, you're gonna.
Oh
maybe
yeah,
eventually.
if you're parked, you'd want it full screen. We
Yeah.
we have
You're parked.
a
Do
screen
whatever
in
you
our
want.
cars, and yeah, when we're parked, my daughter might watch YouTube, or Fallout Shelter is a good one on that screen. Yeah. So, but only when
said-
parked. If you try and drive
Only
it
when
away, it's just the way it
Yeah.
works. So
I guess it depends on how big the screen in your car is. Like if you're on, like
Yeah.
some screens are massive. Like my little Subaru, it's like a little this size. So I'm
Yeah.
screen. Yeah.
I will play on that one, Ron. I will play on my Subaru. if you
You're
give me
not
a chance.
limited.
I don't care. I don't care. I will do it. I get that board.
Well, what's interesting is that I wonder if there's a cap density issue, because I wonder, because are the car screens as responsive as phone screens?
That's
right?
a wonderful point.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Tell you what, maybe I'll install Angry Bird
Yeah, find out.
report back and see if I actually am able to play.
Yep. All right. Well, those are the stories that were this week. All the stuff that we found interesting in the world of Android.
That's the week that was.
The week that was. But we did hear from a bunch of you. We got a couple emails we wanted to share with you, the audience, from the audience, because we do love to hear from you. This is a two-way conversation. You can get in on the conversation by emailing us at contact@androidfaithful.com. It's always so good to hear from everyone. And our first email comes up from Jordan, who wrote in from Montana. Who is reacting to a previous episode. And Jordan writes in and says,
No, here we go. There you go. All right.
Jordan writes in and says, hey everyone, love the show. And I had one insight. During the Mobile World Congress, episode number 85, you talk about the Techno Spark Thin and how lightweight it is as being a good thing. I say we need to normalize plastic on phones again because of this exact aspect. Glass is heavy, and in my opinion, is not a premium material. I've never liked it in phones. Plastic provides all the same benefits: strength, wireless charging, better radio reception, color options, and more as glass, but has none of the drawbacks. It doesn't shatter like glass, and it doesn't needlessly weigh down a device like glass does, and it can be designed to not be the slippery fingerprint magnet that glass is. Can we start recognizing that plastic doesn't inherently mean a device is cheap or low quality? The Galaxy S25 FE was plastic and felt amazing in the hand. Marquez Brownlee said similar about the Zenfone 10. Currently using a Pixel 6a, formerly used the Galaxy S23 and a Pixel 7 before that. Keep up the great shows. Listening in Montana, Jordan. So, Jason, you held the Techno Spark Thin, right? You held it in your hand. Mm-hmm. Did it feel cheap?
Well, no, but it wasn't cheap. I mean, it was a ceramic build. It wasn't plastic.
It felt premium. It felt premium.
But no, it felt very premium. Yeah, and I get where he's coming from. Not to keep jumping back to the Nothing Phone 3a, but like the frame on the Nothing Phone 3a, this is polycarbonate, so it's a plastic frame. Yet it feels every bit as satisfying and nice, and like I kind of wouldn't question it if I didn't know. The back of this is glass, and I've pulled the 2A, which was a plastic back, and kind of compared them side by side. And the difference is very minimal. So I think really at the end of the day, though, I think it's important to say that plastic is not inherently bad. But there are different grades and qualities of plastic. There are some plastics that you get that feel cheap, that are just chunky and actually scratch really easily and just are not good. And then there's high quality plastic that's done thoughtfully, that's done well, where they've really gone to an effort to make it kind of trick your brain and make you feel like it's a kind of an elevated or a different experience. Some plastics actually look and feel a lot like glass. And so I'm kind of like, I totally agree with you, but I don't think that all plastic is the same and equal. But I really do agree with the longevity aspect of plastic and making phones lighter. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Wynn, how do you feel? What's your way in, plastic or glass?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm a case user, so it doesn't really matter to me, but I think I'm
Okay.
aligned with Jason. I think glass is nice, but I also glass slips off of things. I remember the
Yeah.
first time I think I got a Pixel 8 and it just went whoop, right off the
Yep.
couch. Just right off the couch because of the
Womp.
glass.
Yep.
And
Slides
it
right
is
off.
beautiful. It sells. It's wonderful in a showroom. It's beautiful in commercials in real life. Again, I
Yeah.
use a case. Not gonna notice it.
Yeah.
I'll notice if it's cheap plastic and it breaks in the case. How's that? But again, presuming that there are multiple grades of plastic and a comparable, well built, high quality plastic, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm going back to trying to think of all my old phones and all the phones through the years, as we go back to This Is Your Life in phones and how many were plastic versus glass. And, like some of my favorite phones were on the plastic side of things. The Nexus 5 was the rubbery plastic. It was not glass, like
Yes,
that was
yes.
the greatest phone in the history of Android. And the glass is always meant premium, but I've had some pretty darn good times with plastic phone. My Nextbit Robin was a plastic phone. I love that phone. Like plastic can be good.
Yeah, for
And
sure
can
it
last
can.
long. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I guess it is fair to bring up the environmental sustainability aspect of it because that was one thing that we saw at Made by Google last year was that they were very proud of their sustainability efforts and recycled aluminum and the different materials that they use. So I guess factor that in as well. But in terms of human practicality, like
yep.
yeah,
I mean, you know what? One thing that just occurred to me too is if you put cases on your phone, that's plastic. I mean, if you
Yeah.
have a
yep,
glass phone and you put a case on, it's like as plastic as it gets. So, like, you're okay with it there, why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
could be a double standard.
All right. Well, our continuing conversation about Samsung DeX continues when.
yes, and we have a Dex setup coming from Javier from Louisville, Kentucky. Hello, my faithful friends, a longtime listener and follower on the Samsung Dex topic, have been a longtime user. I have an L-shaped desk, one side dedicated to my PC and the other dedicated to my Dex. The Dex setup has the following: Dell 32-inch monitor, Samsung Dex keyboard and mouse, Anchor hub, compact station, elevated phone stand. The setup is designed to be more relaxed than the normal PC setup. To be honest, I really use more the Dex setup on a daily basis since it is an easy plug and play access. Dex is used for emailing, web browsing, reading, mostly media content like YouTube and Netflix and others. Actually, this email was composed using Dex. As you can see, my Galaxy S25 Ultra is docked and in the stand. Thank you for everything you do for us and hope you can keep doing this for much more years. Javier, Louisville, Kentucky.
And here is Javier.
There you go. I was trying to
so
find
for our
it.
video viewers can see a photo that Javier sent of his desk setup, which is quite nerdtastic desk, by the way.
Amazing,
As we're
Javier.
looking at all the other stuff
So
he's
good.
got. But yeah, there's his 32-inch monitor and his Dex keyboard and mouse, and that's a straight up desktop setup,
Yes.
but being driven
It
by a
is
phone.
indeed.
And he said the pic was taken with a Pixel Fold. Pixel Fold fam. Yes, I am a dual phone guy,
So
says Javier.
it's wild.
Love it. Beautiful setup.
So I'm I don't know if I'm relieved or freaked out by the number of people that have written in with Dex confirmation of use. I didn't think Dex had this amount of adoption in the world. So I'm adjusted in my my assessment of Dex.
There are a lot of Dex super fans out there. That much is true. Thank you for sending that in, Javier. I love seeing that. It's nice to be reminded that folks are really leaning into Dex. I just don't see it very much in my life. All right. Well, we have reached the end of this episode of Android Faithful. Real quick plug from me, just, youtube.com/@JasonHowell. That's all you need to know. Win, what about you?
Android developer. Oh, I'm starting full-time job on Monday, so I won't be independent no more. But you can still find stuff that I do at randomlytyping.com and find me on the interwebs at Queen Code Monkey.
All right. And for me, you can find me on the various internet at RonXO, whether it's Instagram or Blue Sky or Threads or whatever it might be. I will be there at RonXO, and that's where you can find me. So And that's going to wrap it up, I think, for this show. Unfortunately, Jason's having some technical difficulties. So we're gonna wrap this up so Jason can go deal with that. We record this show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can watch it on YouTube or on Twitch, and of course you can get the podcast on all the various podcatchers that are out there in the world. We thank everyone for listening and watching. You guys are the best. We'll be back next week with another edition of the wonderful, wonderful Android Faithful. You're the best. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody. All right, still cannot hear Jason. Jason, I don't know what you've done. We cannot hear you. We can't hear you at all.
Yeah, it like reset. Okay. I'm happy you guys vamped. I got a note from my wife that says I need to talk to you right now. So there's something going on, and I need to go.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna
I'm sorry to bounce.
So we're gonna go to that. Everybody have a great night. Thanks so much. We'll be back next week with no Mishaal. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Bye, you guys. Thank you. Sorry.